Good morning. Woo! Here we are, we're all back. We're back. It is Water Communion Sunday. It is Ingathering Sunday, and it is so nice to have you here. It feels like this space has got this big, bright, glowing flame in it because you are here sanctifying it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody. It's wonderful to have you here. My name is Joan Montagnes, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving you, this congregation, as minister. I also want to welcome all you folks who are tuning in out there through the YouTube channel. Nice to have you with us. It's great to be together. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. We are blessed to be here together, and we acknowledge that the land upon which we meet rests on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people, original nations of this land, who continue to call for justice and self-determination. I just got to stop and say, boy, it's nice to see some old faces here. Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh my gosh. And the newcomers, great to see you here. In this church, we encourage everyone to get their COVID shots and vaccinations, and I am happy to say that we are now considering masks optional attire, and we invite you to stay safe and comfortable and take care of yourselves and everyone else. I have, I think, 1,000 announcements today, but that's just what happens in the church of what's happening now. So our casual concert series continues. This month we're delighted to host Alex Huddleston, a multimedia artist and musician. That's next Saturday, 2 p.m., right here. Be there. We got a new church thing happening, a weekly coffee clash. If you have nothing better to do on Tuesdays between 10 and 11 a.m., somebody, probably me, is going to be in the parish hall with a coffee machine, and there'll be no agenda, no program, just hanging out, good company, good times, and a cup of joe. Also next weekend, we got this visit from the Reverend David Galston. You can read all about it in your program. It's a nice partnership between 3 different congregations in the downtown area. And he's the executive director of the West Star Institute, home of the Jesus Seminar, and great thoughts on the human nature of the historic Jesus. So have fun with that. I want to let you know, this is a heads up, that we're shaking it up this year. We always shake it up, but this is the way we're going to shake it up this year. One of the ways. Normally, we kick off our stewardship campaign at the end of October, and I know you're all used to that, and you're all ready for it, and you get puckered up at the beginning of October and say, I can't wait for the pledge drive to start. Well, hold on to your hats because you just don't have to wait that long. It is going to start on September 25th. We're moving it up a whole month. We brought in a professional UU stewardship consultant to freshen up our usual pledge drive. So this year we're going to start early and early. We're going to gather, inspire one another to fund our dreams so that we can transform ourselves and our world, and it's going to be totally groovy. So y'all participate in that. And, missing from our order of service, I just want to say that Paul Zanoli is going to be pinch hitting for some fabulous music today. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Jesse, for scrambling. And welcome, Nick. Good to have you back. I want to mention that the grief group is meeting today at noon in the Marge Gardner room, which you can find, you know what, if you don't know where it is, just ask enough people and they will direct you there. You can ask me, I'll show you where it is. but it's hard to find. But anyway, grief group at noon today. Now, I am just about there. I am thoroughly excited to, and we've done this before, but you just can't get enough of this, excited to introduce to you our newly settled Director of Religious Education, Jess Pond. Woo! Jess comes to us from the Shelter Rock congregation in Manhasset, New York. She is a lifelong Unitarian Universalist. She has 3 years of experience as a professional Unitarian Universalist religious professional. She has served on a board of both the Stony Brook and Southold, New York congregation. She has earned a bachelor's and a master's degree in English, and on top of that, she's got a great music background. Who could ask for anything more? And special announcement here, we're going to have a fellowship hour, specially to welcome Jess to our congregation, and there will be cake. Yay, cake! The best reason to come to church. Okay. And Jess, I think you have an announcement.
Yes, just a brief announcement. Good morning, everybody. So our religious education year will be officially starting next Sunday with the start of our regular RE classes. We've got a full lineup of 5 classes ranging from our wonderful pre-K and kindergarten class to an early elementary class that's a Montessori-based curriculum. Our 4th to 6th graders will be doing OWL, Our Whole Lives, which is a comprehensive sex ed curriculum. And our 7th and 8th graders will be doing a social justice curriculum. And our high schoolers are in youth group, and they're actually already starting this Sunday. They're already upstairs. So we already have over 30 children registered, but if yours are not in those 30, please be sure to get them registered. I have paper copies of the registration form on the RE table today. The link is in your announcements. It's also in the e-blast and on the website, so that we can be best prepared to welcome your children next Sunday. Thank you so much.
Another fabulous thing about Jess is all the teachers are recruited already. Have we ever heard of that? I'm blown away. Okay, here's a thing we haven't done for a while. I've just outlined about a bazillion things we can do to unveil all the bonds that bind each to all. But one of the great ways we do that is by greeting our neighbors. Take this time to greet your neighbor and do this as safely as you choose fit. Okay, that's enough greeting, folks. Let's take it back. We're going to actually get into this worship service. I know, that's so much fun. You can do more of that at coffee hour.
Learning to Love This World by Molly Hausch Gordon. We gather together this morning, tenderly, like drops of dew on a leaf of grass, hopefully, like gathered raindrops in a cloud, gleefully, like water rushing in a stream to the sea, deeply, like groundwater pulled up from a well. We gather from every direction for another year of growth and depth, another year of companionship and hope, another year of learning to love this world. We gather like the water that joins us across all of creation, the water that connects us within and without, merging and flowing across the entire world. Now, if you'll please rise as you're willing and able to join in with our chalice lighting words. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world. And if you'll remain standing to join us in hymn number 210 in the gray hymnal, Wade in the Water.
Oh, that's a lot of guitar. It's gospel, right?
Every week, we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. This month, we are supporting the good work of Justice for Migrant Farm Workers. And today we have Kara Sutton from Justice for Migrant Farm Workers to tell us a little bit more about it. If you want to come up.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. It's actually Justice for Migrant Families, but there are many farm workers who are included in that. So we are a very small, mostly volunteer-run grassroots organization here in Buffalo, and we work with and for people impacted by immigration enforcement, and we do direct support, advocacy, and organizing. What that means is we have a ton of programs, from pen pals to sending books to helping people when they're released suddenly without any belongings, to advocating at the statewide level and the local level to change immigration policies. And one of the reasons that is really important, if you want to talk about more reasons, I can talk about this for 5 hours, so come see me afterwards. But one of the reasons it's really important is Buffalo is a northern border town. So what that means is we hear about the southern border all the time. we can see Canada from our houses. So within the 100-mile range of the border, Customs and Border Patrol has extra legal rights, basically, to board vehicles, ask for citizenship papers, go on private property without a warrant, right? So we have a special situation here in Buffalo. In addition to that, Western New York is home to 2 immigration courts that serve everyone in New York State that is not in New York City and Long Island, basically. Everyone else has to come here for any kind of immigration proceeding. We have a federal court. We have the field office for ICE, which also serves almost all of New York State. That's right in the Delaware North building, the headquarters of ICE are. And we have a federal detention facility that houses between 500 and 700 immigrants that are held on civil violations, not on crimes, in Batavia, New York, which is just 45 minutes away. In that detention center, we focus a lot of our efforts on advocating for people because it is essentially a prison. And people have to work for $1 a day. People have no legal rights for lawyers. They often do not know what's going on. They are transferred from all over the country up from the southern border without any information or way to navigate and fight their immigration cases. So that sounds like a daunting task that I'm telling you about here in Western New York, all of these things that are happening, most of which are invisible. But I wanted to talk very quickly about one concrete small thing that makes a huge difference, and that is the dignity bag. I'm also talking about this because one of our superstar volunteers who does this work is singing in your choir. So, but we have a release support program where people who are released from the detention center are met by volunteers at the bus station. Those volunteers buy their bus tickets, make sure they're safe for the night, give them food. People who are released without bags, often in the clothes they were detained in, which is like whatever the weather. They could be in shorts, they could be in pajamas, they don't have shoelaces, they don't have bags to carry their papers, they don't have phones to call their family. Often they don't speak English, so navigating transportation to get back to usually very far away, Texas, California, Florida, is very, very difficult. So our volunteers meet them, they help them, and they give them something that is called a dignity bag. And I brought an example of this that you can see out in the other room. But a dignity bag is basically a person who was directly impacted and released from detention named them dignity bags. He was one of the volunteers when people were being released in Batavia rather than Buffalo. So a dignity bag is basically a backpack, and in it is a folder to put your important papers, socks, underwear, some hygiene supplies, toothpaste, a mask for travel while you're on a bus or on a plane, some snacks so that you can get across country and at least, be somewhat fed, a water bottle, and then we like to also write notes. And again, this was the idea of the person who came up with the term dignity bags. But the notes basically say, welcome, or a version of that, like benediction. We are thinking of you, we are praying for you, you are not alone. And in that way, we hope to give a little bit of dignity. So thank you very much. Come talk to me afterwards.
To support our Share the Plate ministry, you can use PayPal by going to our website, www.buffalouu.org, and clicking on the blue Donate button. Or you can send a check by mail to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, 695 Elmwood Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14222. You can also arrange a regular automatic deposit with your bank. If yours is a gift to our Share the Plate ministry, please write SHARE on the memo line, and it will be shared between Justice for Migrant Families and the church operating budget. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2022 on the memo line. Either way, please write UUCB on the important line. Thank you for building generosity and creativity in our community.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We're the makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. The Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
So, you came to church. You came to church, and you know what that tells me? That tells me that you're ready to get together with your faith community and make some waves. I love that about you. You show up ready to take the deep dive. You know, the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed tells us that the central task of the religious community, and that's us, the central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. He said there is a connectedness, relationship, discovered amidst the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. And once we notice that group of particulars in our own lives and in the lives of others, once we feel the connection among those particulars, we are inspired to act for justice. You get that? All right, I'll give it to you again. Once we gather as a community to listen to each other's stories, to hear each other's lived experience, to help each other through times of sorrow, support each other through challenges, and rejoice with each other whenever we get the chance, once we connect to one another, we develop compassion, a deep compassion, a compassion that isn't bounded by the walls of this finite congregation. It's a compassion that inspires us, calls us to make some waves, to bring about change, to transform the world for the better. Mark Morrison Reed goes on to tell us that the church assures us that we're not struggling for justice on our own, right? Justice for migrant families. We're not struggling for justice on our own. We're struggling as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, Morrison Reed says. And I buy that. I think the religious community is essential. He says that our community is essential because alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen. And our strength is too limited to do all that must be done. It's a huge task, saving the world, right? But together, and partnering with other organizations, together, our vision widens, and our strength is renewed, and our collective voice is so loud it cannot be ignored. Together, we can get into some serious trouble. We can trouble the waters. We can make waves. And we can start transforming the world into one of peace, justice, and love. So this morning on this Water Communion Sunday, this Ingathering Sunday, as we gather to inspire one another, to transform ourselves and the world, this morning, Jess and I are going to tell you a couple of stories. Stories about two people that, with the help of the folks in their community, created meaningful change. And they made some waves.
So this story is based on the book We Are Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom, who is an Indigenous author of children's books. The book was inspired by Standing Rock and by all Indigenous peoples who are fighting for clean water. This story is about an Indigenous little girl named Michaela. When she was little, Michaela's grandmother taught her about the importance of water. Her grandmother told her water is the first medicine. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body, and it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred. And Michaela could feel how the river's rhythm flowed through her veins with the beating of her heart. She knew that water meant life. But Michaela's people told stories about a black snake called Oil that would come to destroy the land. It would spoil the water, poison plants and animals, and wreck everything in its path. At first, the people foretold that the snake wouldn't come for many, many years. But then the oil snake did come. Its venom burned the land. It coursed through the water, making it unfit to drink. Michaela thought to herself, I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together to stand for the water, to stand for the land, and to stand as one against the oil snake. First, Michaela went to her friend Nola. Nola, she said, please help me rally our people to fight against the black snake. We must protect the winged animals and the crawling bugs who cannot protect themselves. Nola was afraid of the black snake, but she knew Michaela was right, and she was more afraid of what would happen to the animals and the bugs if they didn't help. Okay, Nola said, I will join you. So Michaela and Nola went to Nola's friend Corey. Help us, Corey, they said. We must rally our people together to fight for the plants and the trees and the rivers and the lakes that cannot protect themselves against the black snake. Corey was afraid of the black snake too, but he looked around at the beautiful trees that surrounded their village, and he thought of his favorite lake where he liked to spend afternoons in the summertime. And he imagined what would happen to them if the oil snake came and ruined them. Yes, Corey said, I will join you. So Michaela, Nola, and Corey went to the village center, where many of their people were playing drums and singing and dancing. Michaela was nervous to speak up to so many people, but Nola and Corey stood behind her, supporting her. Please, everyone, Michaela said, please help us. We must come together to fight against the black oil snake and to fight for our earth and our water. The people listened to Michaela, and they understood. They knew that the earth and the animals and the water and the people are all connected. They knew that they had to fight against the snake for the good of all of them. So the people organized runs and horseback rides and marches to protest the oil snake and to spread the message about the horrible things that could happen if the snake was not stopped in its path. Many people even traveled to the den where the snake was hiding to protest it. But the snake had lots of supporters and guards who gave the water protectors a hard time, and many of the people were arrested. Now, unfortunately, this is not a neat, tied-up story with a satisfying ending, because Michaela's and the water protectors' fight is still ongoing. They are still fighting to stop the black snake from destroying their land. And there are things we can all do to help. If you'd like to know more, I have some information at the RE table in the parish hall after the service, and I have copies of Carol Lindstrom's book if you'd like to look. We can all be water protectors. Thank you.
Boy named Oblio. And Oblio lived in the land of point where everyone and everything had one. All the barns had points, all the cars had points, all the homes had points, and all the people had points at the tops of their heads. All, that is, with the exception of Oblio. Oblio had a round head. And because it was the law of the land that everything in the land of point have a point, and because Oblio was in violation of that law, he was banished to the pointless forest by the king. The pointless forest, where there are no points and everything is pointless. And it just so happens that the length of time it takes to get from the land of point to the pointless forest is directly proportional to the amount of time it takes to sing a song. So there's Oblio, and he's sad, right? He's sad. He's banished from everything he knows and everything he's ever been with and all his loved ones. So he's walking along. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 and begins to sing. Sit beside the breakfast table. Think about your troubles. Pour yourself a cup of tea. Think about the bubbles. You can take your teardrop and drop them in the teacup. Take them down to the riverside and throw them over the side to be swept up by a current and taken to the ocean to be eaten by some fishes who were eaten by some fishes who were swallowed by a whale who grew so old he decomposed. That whale, he took his body and left it to the bottom of the ocean. Now, everybody knows that when a body decomposes, The simple elements are given back to the ocean, and the sea does what it oughta, and soon there's salty water, which is not too good for drinking, 'cause it tastes just like a teardrop. So you run it through a filter, and it comes out from the faucet right into your teapot, which is just about to bubble. Now, doesn't that put things in perspective? Think about your troubles. Do, 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 do. So Oblio makes it to the pointless forest, and in his adventures there, he meets all kinds of wacky and wild people, some of which help him, and some of them hinder him on his journey. And you know, sometimes the people who hinder him actually ended up helping him. You know those people? And he was wandering through the land of Point, and as these things turn out, at the end of all his exploration, he found himself where he'd started, right back at the land of Point. So he marched up to the king's palace, and all around him a crowd gathered. They had never seen anybody come back from the pointless forest. After all, it was the point of no return. And the king looked at him and said, "Oblio, what are you doing here? You were banished to the pointless forest." And Oblio said, "Well, king, it's just that I went to the pointless forest, and it turns out that all the trees were pointed." "No," said the crowd. "And all the leaves on all the trees were pointed." "No," cried the crowd. "And all the branches were pointed." "No," cried the crowd. And it's like everyone I met there seemed to have a point. And if everything everywhere, just like here, has a point, and everyone had a point, just like here, well, I figure I must have one too. And then someone called out from the crowd, "He's got a point there." And at that moment, some people know this story, and at that moment, everything in the land of Point changed. Everybody in the land of Point changed forever. So the point of this story, the moral of this story, is that if you are feeling pointless, if you're feeling like there is no purpose in your life, no meaning in your life, then go out into that seemingly pointless world. Go out there and get in with your community. Meet some of them wild and wacky people who are going to sometimes feel like they are hindering you, and maybe they're helping you. Some of them are going to feel like they're helpful right along. But get together with them and figure out where your point is. Enlargen your voice, widen your vision, increase your strength together, just like Michaela, just like Oblio. And you will return to where you started from, refreshed, renewed, reimagined, and ready to transform the world.
my goodness, what a fabulous choir. We are so fortunate for the music ministry in our congregation. If you are interested in joining the choir, I know there's a space for you. Oh, where am I? Many Unitarian Universalist congregations all over the country are celebrating their annual Ingathering Sunday after a summer of, shall we say, more casual attendance. I know who you are. During this third year of turmoil and pandemic living, my goodness, we've had quite a long time. Lots of people are celebrating their ingathering service, and just as many Unitarian Universalist congregations are celebrating their annual Ingathering Sunday today, many are also celebrating a water communion ceremony, a ritual using water, elementary, primary, connecting, the source and first home of all life. The water communion ceremony, symbolic and meaningful sharing of a time apart, it's a ritual that marks a new beginning, a new year together. Just as many of our siblings in faith will be celebrating water communion today, many of them will be reminded of the spiritual power of water by the poem The Fountain by Denise Levertov. Listen, the poet writes, Don't say there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. I've seen the fountain springing up out of the rock wall and you drinking there. And I too, before your eyes, found footholds and climbed to drink the cool water. The woman of the place, shading her eyes, frowned as she watched, not because she grudged the water, only because she was waiting to see we drank our fill and were refreshed. Don't say there's no water. The fountain is there among its scalloped green and gray stones. It is still there and always there with its quiet song and strange power to spring in us. Up and out and through the rock. And so I invite you now to come forward with a little water that you may have collected during these past summer days and pour it into our common well, our spring, our fountain, our sacred bowl. And I invite you to share, get this, one word that captures some aspect of your summer experience. If you did not know today was Water Communion Sunday, or if you forgot your water for the service, it happens. Or if you've never heard of the Water Communion ceremony before, fear not. There is a pitcher here of water on the altar for you to use in blessing of our community. So I invite you, come forward now with your water and pour it into our sacred bowl and share your one word with that little mic there. Come on. Come on.
No one wants to be first on.
I know, it's like a buffet. There you go.
Stay.
Ocean. Family.
Adventure.
Beginnings.
Swimming.
Deluge.
Reflection.
Unclogged.
Flow. Change.
Imagination.
Refreshed.
Wedding.
Healing.
Birds.
Hugs.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Remember.
Home.
Puppy.
Uncertainty.
All right, here we go again. Loosen this so it can just come down to you.
Garden.
Realignment.
Kayaking.
Flexibility.
Breath.
Reemergence.
Swimming. Swimming. Blueberries. Family.
Patience.
Decisions. Grateful.
Rainbow.
Challenge. Grandmama.
Rebirth.
Tomatoes.
Challenges.
Tennessee. Mountain bike.
Opportunities.
Release. Acceptance. Sailing. Birth.
Felicity.
Moving.
Need. Wildlife.
Renewal.
You need water to live.
Cuca.
Friends.
Wonderful family.
Commitment.
Family.
Vulnerable.
Family visit and this is my apartment.
Meep.
What sacred waters are these? Made holy by all you bring as we gather together, a bowl filled with the waters of joy and happiness, change and transition, grief and loss, rest, renewal, and reimagination, all mingled together in harmony and blessed by our gathering through our reverence and love for each other. The empty bowl is now full of connection. We are blessed by all your gifts. The year is just beginning. Welcome home. Let's make some waves together. And let's join our hearts and minds in a quiet moment of prayer, meditation, and reflection. In the spirit of community and with a sense of purpose in our shared ministry, let us gather together to discover our strengths, our concerns, our grief, and our joy. Let us journey together in love, authenticity, and reverence. Together, let us shape our lives, our work, and our days as an expression of mutual affection and respect. Today, we especially hold in our hearts the friends and family of Doug Bizant's, longtime member of our congregation. We celebrated Doug's life here in the sanctuary yesterday, and we especially offer our compassion to his wife and companion, Sandy. And now let us open our sanctuary of memory, caring, accountability, and hope to the names of all our loved ones suffering in sorrow and celebrating in joy, each name a breath and each breath a prayer. Steve. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of love is among us. The spirit of life is within us. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen. Let's sing. 1064 in your teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
as we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
I'm hearing something groovy. All right. I don't know. It could be a phone. Oh, my beloved, so good to be here together, ready to get into trouble, ready to make some waves, starting a new year together again. And as we go forward into the year, remember, you are blessed. Remember, you are a blessing. And above all else, remember, you are not alone. You are never alone. So be it, blessed be. Don't forget to stay for cake, and let the church say, amen. All right. you.